Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this session today. We're going to be carrying out measurements and calculations. Now, what happened previously, my name's Jason Riley. I ran a class with 3 students previously, and your manager has said that they want another session for yourself and for someone else. So I'll just get you to introduce yourself. Learner 6.
Hi, I'm Juanita. Training I find difficult. I can get by during like the school, like during my work hours and what have you. It's just the reading and writing and spelling can sometimes be a little bit difficult. So thank you very much for running this course specifically for me.
Okay, and we've got an education support worker with you today, Jacinta, who you both know, and any issues you've got, you can always ask me. This will be a stress-free class. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. But your support worker will be here to help you along if you have any issues at all with that as well.
Excellent. Is there a screen reader that I can potentially use?
Look, I haven't got a screen reader. What we've got the worker, and I'll be reading everything off the board for you.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Now, just a bit of housekeeping. Go out the door here, to your left, to my left, and to the right, there's the toilets.
Okay.
If we have an emergency evacuation, out the door here, to my right, out towards the front, towards the reception. If you group out in the car park, you will be told where to go to from there.
Excellent.
Okay. We've also got the attendance sheet for today. Could I get you, both of you, to fill it out, please?
Okay.
Beautiful. All good. So, as I was quickly touched on before, I had 3 sessions, and on the carrying out measurements and calculations. And over the 3 sessions, we covered off things like where you obtain your information, how to get it yourself, how to use calculators, steel rulers, measuring tapes. And so your manager has said, okay, I'd like that, but can we make it into one? So what I've done is I've condensed the 3 sessions into one session. There's a bit of information from the first 3 sessions that won't be in this. We're going to be covering off how to find the area and perimeter of a square rectangle. Whereas in the other group, we also did that for circles. And we also did how to find the volume of a prism and of a sphere as well. So we won't be doing that or a cylinder, sorry, not a sphere, a cylinder in this one. We won't be doing that. We're just going to be covering off the basics. I know that in your daily workplace, you do a bit of things, some things like this, but we're just going to sharpen up your skills and get you to a level where the manager's happy.
Excellent.
Okay, so
if I wanted to get the information on how to do the other bits that I'm missing today, can that be provided to me?
Correct. Yep.
Excellent.
Oh, correct. So, and I also sent you out a video prior to this session.
Yep, I watched it.
All right, so that had the video on how to use a tape measure, how to use a steel ruler, how to use a calculator. Okay, and the reason behind that was that you would have sit down with your manager, and I hope you did that.
Yep.
And you can get your head slightly around what's happening today. You've probably had a practice run with them and things like that, which is good. So when you're coming into this session, you're coming in blind, you're coming in with things you already know a bit about and you've used before coming into the session.
Yeah.
Okay. Now for today, so our learning objectives, we're going to have ways of obtaining measurements and the importance of measuring accurately, identify units of measurement used in the construction industry, identify different equipment used for measuring and calculating in the construction industry, explain how each piece of equipment is used, calculate the perimeter of a square or rectangle, and calculate the area of a square or a rectangle. Okay, so the units of measurements, we're going to be covering that off pretty soon. Different equipment with the emails I sent out of the ruler, the measuring tape, and we're going to go through demonstrations. You're going to have a play around with them as well. You're going to be measuring up things. We've got practice sheets and all that for the session. Okay. So ways of obtaining measurements. There are several ways to obtain measurements. You can read them off a plan or drawing. Now, at your business, you do maintenance for rental properties, and you do get drawings and things like that. So I know that there's one way you can get your information. You can measure them physically using the appropriate tape measure. So you might be out on site. You might say, okay, we don't have the map or drawing of that. We've just been told I've got to replace the lawn, so I'm going to measure it up myself. Read them from the packaging. So if you get, I know you replace windows and you get different sizes sent to you, and you've got to know which ones you got. So you need to be able to read the packaging and read them from the manufacturer's instructions. Now, also too, you could get them off a work colleague. Somebody who you're working with might be able to, might have all the information from you, all of this for you, okay? Now, measuring accurately. Accurate measuring is important because incorrect measuring can result in wasted time, putting you behind schedule, wasted material, costing you or the business money, ruined aesthetics, such as incorrectly sized tiles. Okay, so what we're doing here, wasted time, putting you behind schedule, and wasted material go hand in hand. If you measure up something incorrectly and then you cut it to the wrong size, well, that piece of material may then not be any good. So what you've got to do then is you then got to get another piece of material, and you may not be able to use the one you just cut. It may be useless now, and you might have to chuck it out, throw it in the bin, recycle it, and it might be waste of money. But then not only that, your time going back, cutting another one up. By the time you've done all that, you've wasted a bit of time. And as you know, time is of the essence. So you want to be measure as accurate as possible. And that's remember the saying, measure twice, cut once. Always check any measurements you've taken before you use them. Okay. Now the units of measurements we're going to be using the millimeters and meter predominantly. Centimeter, we don't use it that much, but it can be used if you feel comfortable with that. So millimeter, 10 millimeters makes up a centimeter. Okay, 1,000 millimeters make up a meter, and that's how it works. Okay, so if we have a look at the ruler here, the rule of millimeters along here, and we've got a longer black line, 10 millimeters makes up 1 centimeter. Right. Okay, but if we go across to here and we have a look at this, we've got 100 there, which is 100 centimeters, which is 1,000 millimeters. Okay, and 1 millimeter is right at the end here, the start. Okay, so is there any questions so far on what we're covering on the measurements or ways of getting measurements?
No, I think I'm good.
You okay with all that?
Yes, I think I've got it.
Okay, cool. Just let you know too, at any point during the session, if you need to ask a question, feel free to ask.
Will do.
Yeah, don't have to put your hand up, just ask me.
No.
That's all good. Okay. All right, so we're going to be covering off the equipment for measuring and calculating. Now, the learning objectives in this section are identify different equipment used for measuring and calculating in the construction industry, and explain how each piece of equipment is used. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got a little fella here's got a steel ruler. This one's got measuring tape, and this one's got a calculator. So now we're going to the calculator. Now that's what we've got there. That's the calculator we've got there. Now I know you had a little bit of you watched the video, you had to play around with it. How do you feel you'd go using a calculator?
It's very different from the one that I use on my phone, but I think I've got it covered.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So on the video I sent you, I've got the photos of it here. It shows you how to turn it on. Press this button here, and turn it off is that button there. So the rest of the functions, it's only a basic calculator just for basic calculations, say multiple addition, division, subtraction.
And I won't need anything.
You won't need any scientific measurements to be done or anything like that. Okay, so with that, you can use a general purpose calculator to perform calculations on the job when you're measuring up and you get your perimeter and area, which we're going to cover later on. you'll use your calculations for that.
Yeah.
And these calculations can be used to calculate formula for perimeter and area, as I just said. Okay, so what we're doing is we've got a handout sheet here.
Mhm.
So if your worker can help you to assist on using the calculator. So what I need for you to do now is we've got a couple of equations for you to do on that front sheet.
Yeah.
So how do you reckon you go doing that?
All right.
Would you like me to read
Yeah,
them out?
can
Read
you
out
read
the numbers?
Can
for
you
you?
read out the
Okay.
numbers? Thank you.
All right. The first one is all addition.
Yep.
So it's 25 plus 15.
Yep.
Plus 25.
Yep.
Plus 15. 80. Okay. The next one is also all addition, and it's 30 plus 10 plus 30 plus 10.
Gives me 80 again. That doesn't seem right. Can we do that again?
Sure, let's try that again. Make sure you clear it off. Yeah. So 30 plus 10 plus 30 plus 10.
No, it was 80.
Go. Okay, so the next one is the multiplication, so make sure it's clear. Yep. So this is 25 times 12.
So 300.
Yep. The next one, clear it again. This is 40 times 15.
600.
Thank you. That's all right.
And how'd you go with that?
Quite easy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All good?
Yeah. I think I've got the calculator sorted.
Yeah, that's it. And the that's probably the extent of how much you'll be using the calculator for in your field.
Excellent.
Yeah, there's no when you get in for now anyway, and when you get down later and we later on in the session, we're going to be going through formulas
Mhm.
of how to use the. So if you have a look at the first two, they're actually perimeter formulas,
Oh, cool.
and the bottom two are area formulas. So I try to incorporate them in now.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So next up, we've got the measuring tape. Now you watch the video on your measuring tape.
Yeah.
Now we pull it out from the end here. Push down on the black part there, and it locks it in. Got to be careful when you take it off, but if you go in, it can hurt you. Okay. And we've got two sides. We've got imperial, which is at the top, which we won't be using, but we've got the metric down the bottom, which is our millimeters, centimeters.
What are the red numbers meant?
Okay, so the red numbers on here are that for every 10 centimetres, so every 10 millimetres makes a centimetre, and every 10 centimetres comes up as a red number. There's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50.
So it's just a higher indicator.
Yep, and then we've got all the way up to 100. 100 centimetres is 1 metre,
Cool.
or 1,000 millimetres. Okay. Measuring tapes used for measuring long distances with a reasonable degree of accuracy. So you could be measuring a lawn, something like that. Made of a flexible metal blade in a metal or plastic case, which we've got here. Blade is coiled and controlled by a strong spring, and that's when I let it go, it came back in by itself.
Mhm.
That's the spring. Common tapes are 3 to 10 metres long, and I think that one's an 8 metre tape. Markings are 1 millimetre apart, and numbers are written every 10 millimetres. So that's where we had it before. We had 1 millimetre, 10 millimetres makes 1 centimetre, and we had the 10 centimetres makes 10. We had them in the big red of the 10.
Yep.
Now, looking after your measuring tapes, don't be rough with the blade or the tape housing,
Why?
because you could break it. And we just don't want to continually replace them. But also, too, if you drop this, accidents happen. We all know that. You drop it, you have a crack in there, the weather can get in there, and it can ruin the blade, the spring, and all that, and it won't work properly. Okay. So retract the blade gently. Keep the blade free from grit and moisture, and that's what we're talking about before. So even if you haven't broken it, you got it out and it's out in the dirt measuring the lawn. Before you wind that up, see if you can wipe it down, dry it out, so it's not then inside the casing continually. And don't leave the measuring tape exposed for long periods to the direct rays of sun, because the UV will break down the casing on it.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Now, so what we're going to do is, I'll just get you to jump up for a sec.
Sure.
And I just want you to come around here if you can and just measure across the two tables or one table, just measure something. So pull it out like that.
What does the hook on the end do?
So when you put the tape down here, you can hook it onto there.
Ah, right. That would be
So what's it?
100 mils.
Yep. So you've got the 120 centimetres and you multiplied it by 10.
Yeah.
And you've got 1200. Yep. No, very, very good. So how did you feel using that?
Great.
Yeah, you're
Excellent.
confident with that?
Yeah.
Any questions at all with the tape measure at all?
No.
No, look, I would have showed the video here today, but I knew that you would have done your
Already
homework
done it.
previously.
Yeah.
Your manager said you're the #1 student, so I didn't have to show the video.
Yeah, sure.
So no, all good. All right, so what we've got next on our slideshow, we've got steel ruler. Okay, so it's the same as the measuring tape. And the tradespeople in the construction industry are known to use the 4-fold ruler and the basic steel ruler. So we've got the basic steel one here today. The 4-fold one, it's pretty much 4 of these combined. It folds over that way and the other 2 parts fold up that way and you can open it up and it goes to 1.2 metres.
1.2, that's cool.
Yeah. Whereas this will go 300 mil.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's your steel ruler.
When using the ruler, do I start from the end? Because every other ruler that I've used before had like a little gap and start with 0.
Yeah, so these steel rulers start at the very start. They don't have a gap.
Taking my measurement from the end of the ruler.
Yeah, yeah, they don't have a gap at all. These ones start from the very start. Okay. Now, with the steel rulers, the difference between the tape measure and the steel ruler is that the tape measure is to measure a larger area.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, the steel ruler is only 300 long.
Yeah.
300 mil, 30 centimetres long. So you'll be measuring something a bit smaller. Okay, so if I was to get you this book, you could use the tape measure, but you'd probably use a steel ruler.
And again, with your measurements coming from there, it'd be 210,
Yeah, that's right on the money. And what do you got going the other way?
280.
Beautiful.
Oh,
So it's just as accurate. Now, if you were to use the tape measure, you should get the same measurements.
yeah, but this seems so bulky. Yeah. It's so much more efficient and easier to do it with the steel ruler as opposed to, so know the size.
Exactly right. So that's the advantage of having a steel ruler, where you could use the measuring tape all the time, but you just don't have to. So what about how would you go with this?
It's slightly bigger than your sheet, but you'd still use a steel ruler because it's bigger than it's not bigger than my steel ruler. So it's 240 mil. And I'd have to use my tape measure a long way because my 305. My steel ruler is not long enough, so I have to use.
Yeah, so exactly right. So the steel ruler has its place,
Yeah.
but it also doesn't have its place.
It's its limitations.
It has its limitations. That's probably the word I'm looking for. No, very, very good. I just wanted to make sure you understood that when you're going out and you're measuring smaller objects,
Choose the right tool for the job.
exactly right. As you said, the measuring tape can be bulky and in the way. So, and that's where if you've got the window, you got stuff beside it, the way you can't get in with the big clunk of the measuring tape, but the ruler might be able to do it. So it does have its advantages and times where you can use it over the measuring tape.
Yeah.
But as you saw before, they both take the same measurements. They're both written out the same way. Okay, so is there any questions you've got about the steel ruler or anything like that?
I think I'm pretty good.
You're pretty good?
Yeah.
Covered that off pretty well.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's the same one that your work uses as well.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. No, all good. All right, so one thing we're going to cover off now is perimeter and area. So if we have a look at the screen there, The difference between perimeter and area is the perimeter is the outside. Okay?
Mhm.
The area is the inside. So with the grassed area here is the area. Okay? Perimeter is the fence. So if we need to work out, we've got a fence that's got to be replaced, we have a formula for that using that. Okay? So perimeter, as I've got the drawing here with the arrows going around, it's the outside. Perimeter is a boundary or outside edge. In the building industry, it's used to refer to things like fencing, gutters, external wall lengths. Okay? Perimeter of a rectangle or square. A rectangle is any four-sided figure where all angles are 90 degrees and opposite sides are of equal length and parallel. Formula.
Sorry, what does parallel mean?
So they run alongside each other.
Okay.
Like that or like that.
Thank you.
Okay. And so we had the formulas before on the calculator practice sheet. And with this, it's 2 length times width or length plus width plus length plus width. So it's length plus width plus length plus width. You add it because you're just adding up, like you're walking around, count your steps. How many times you're going around? Okay, so what I've got here, I've got in your handout, I've got the formulas there as a handout for you to take away, and I've got some practice sheets. So if your worker just simply wants to help you with these, I've already got measurements in for you of perimeters of areas.
So I don't have to actually measure them.
No, you don't have to. So what we're doing is just a calculation. So we're teaching you how to do the calculations now.
Sure. So 20 plus 15. 20 plus 15 plus 20 plus 15. So these are all millimeters. Okay, they have to write your answer in millimeters.
No.
So it's mm.
Okay. Next one. These are all in centimeters, these ones. So it's 84 plus 27 plus 84 plus 27. So this is centimeters.
That's cm at the end of it.
Next one is in meters. So it's 7 plus 6 plus 7 plus 6.
And after that, because it's in meters, it's written with an M.
There you go. Good job.
There we go. So how'd you go with that?
That's okay.
Yeah?
If we don't use centimeters often in our building industry, should I be learning how to do them?
You may.
Okay.
You may end up using it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to get you to measure the perimeter, because you've had a practice of that. So it's measure the outside of it. So you might be able to get your worker to write the measurements in
30
here.
centimeters down. At 30 centimeters. At 30 centimeters. And 30 centimeters.
All right, so now you use your calculator.
And 20 centimeters.
I'm going to write it in.
Yes, please.
Okay, and now I've got you for this one to do. So you may use two different tools. Sorry, you may use 2 different tools for this, because I don't think the rule is going to be long enough.
$500 mils. Yeah. Okay. 300. 500 by 300.
That's it. That's the formula.
Plus 300. 500 plus 300.
Gives you 16,000.
16.
Um,
Have another look at that.
1,600. Okay. Because I did it in mils, it has to say. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Any issues with that?
No.
No, all pretty self-explanatory.
Yes.
Okay. Good. So, because what we're going to cover off now is the area section, which was the grass. Remember the inside of the fence? Okay, so area is the amount of space inside a boundary or outside edge. square units are used for area measurements such as meters squared. So when you write down your answer now, you write your centimetre, millimetre, or metre. At the end of it, you put a little 2 after it. That means because you've done area, because you multiplied the 2.
Right.
Examples include grassed or concrete yards, floor area of individual rooms and buildings, and area of a building block. So the area of a rectangle or square is length times width. So we're going to use a multiplication this time, okay? So area equals number of square units in the area. So that's these. So when you multiply that by that, it'll work out how many of these are in there. So your L is your length and your W is your width. Okay?
Yeah.
So I've got a formula sheet there for you again, that you'll be able to take that away. And I've got a practice sheet here for you now to do some calculations.
Okay, so the first one is in millimetres, so it's 50 millimetres times 40 millimetres.
90.
Multiplication.
Yeah.
2000.
1,000 what?
Millimeters.
And because it's squared, you've got to put a little number 2 next to it.
Right, because we're doing the area.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is in centimetres. So we have 25 centimetres multiplied by 12 centimetres.
300 centimeters, and it's squared.
Yep.
Because we multiplied.
And the last one is meters, and this is 8.3 meters times 5 meters.
41.5 meters, and again.
Little 2.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Good.
Okay. So now we've got the 2 objects here we're going to measure up.
Right.
And we're going to grab the area of these. Okay, which one do you want to do first? The square?
Sure. Again,
The multiple, you get one side each.
so 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters.
All right, so you write that in.
And write it in.
Yes, please. And then because we're multiplying, it'll be 900 centimeters square.
That's it. Right on. Okay.
Okay.
Now we've got the bigger bit of wood.
500 millimeters by 300 millimeters. 500 times 300.
Yeah.
Which would meet, wow.
Yeah.
A big number.
Make sure you don't leave any of those zeros out. What does that number say?
150,000
And
squared.
Square.
yeah,
Yep.
it is squared.
Okay, so how did you find the measuring up using the steel ruler, the calculator, finding the area with that?
Good. I can take these home to review them.
You can take all the paperwork home, especially the formula one.
Yep.
We've got there for you. I've also sent out the videos, and I can send an email out post this with some more practice exercises for you if you want.
That'd be great.
Yep, I can do all that. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of the session for today. What we covered of ways of obtaining measurements, the units.
I can get those from other colleagues as well as the plans and also sometimes on the packaging, depending on what I'm working.
Yep.
Yep.
And the 3 units of measurements that are millimeters.
Millimeters, centimeters, and meters, although we don't use centimeters that often.
And then we covered off calculators, steel rulers, measuring tapes, and we also covered off perimeter and area. So we've just touched the surface. I'm not sure whether your manager's going to want, but there's no assessment for this right now. Okay. Now, do you have any questions on the session that happened today?
No, but if I could get some extra material so that I can keep practicing and so that this can actually sink in for me, that'd be really handy.
Yep. No, all good. I'll send all that out for you. And I've got a learner evaluation form here for you to fill out as well. If you do that. So thanks for your time. That's the session closed. Thank you for your help, education support worker.
That's okay, no problem at all.
And I'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Please, so did you-
How good was I? Like I